Hey, Tkinter. Okay, so the last video we saw the um, demo of the hotel management system. So what will be the outcome of this? Um, expected output. And this portion or this section, I want to segregate into two parts. So basically, we are going to uh, create a hotel management system um, where we can uh, connect our Django REST framework and add rooms and all kind of stuff. Basically, all kind of operation we can do it. So before jumping to here, the code level, I just want to show you the final output, and this is the final output, which is desktop app. So the main reason of this video is basically to show how we can integrate the desktop application with any REST framework. So which is applicable for any other native apps development as well. If you are going to develop the iOS or Android or any kind of app, so this could be a pretty much same approach, but the implementation itself would be different than what we're going to see here. As for this desktop development app, we are going to use Python Tkinter or Tkinter, whatever they pronounce. So I believe it should be more interesting stuff. That's what we believe to make the video for this. And if you see here, right, we can log in with the username and password. We can log into the REST framework. This is basically our REST framework data from Django backend model. I can update the data here, let's say 28 or 27. Update room, so it should change to 28 or 27 here. I can delete room. I can clear that space. Even I can add a room. 2020, let's say 26. So check-in date. 25. Copy this and say 28. 3 days. Add room, so I should see the second room here. So this is the ID, and this is the room number 1, 2, and basically 1, 2 is 1, 1 is a guest name. So instead of a name, I'm just using the ID. It depends. We can later we can change it as well if you want. Okay. So sound interesting, right? So this is what we're gonna do this in this video, and pretty much all this stuff has been created by Arun, and he has created this block, cool block with all this detail. So pretty much we're going to refer this block. So he created the 2 posts, which is part 1 and part 2. So we're gonna follow the same approach. So we're gonna build the part 1, which is just a backend part, and then we'll move on to the desktop front end part. Okay, let's jump on. So far I created a virtual environment called env, and I just have the Django 2.26 version. So it should be fine if you use any version which is greater than 2 in Django. Okay, so first thing first, we have to create a project. So Django admin start project. I'm gonna name it as hotel management because that's what we're gonna achieve. So instead of playing here, let's create a folder called Backend and go to Backend folder, and then here let's create the project so that we can separate our front end and back end design. That's the reason. Django admin start project. We can name it as hotel management. You guys have any name, but just for this purpose, we just keep this hotel management. Now you should see a couple of predefined or pre-built files here that Django is created for us. And what else? Okay, I want to separate the model itself in a separate app. That's what the guide here looks like. So we need to create the app called hotel. So let's create a hotel. Python manage. So we have to go to the hotel management folder and Python manage type. Start app. I can name it as hotel. Cool. Okay. So now I should see hotel here. Awesome. Okay, now it's time to create our model, and so that is where the actual data going to reside in the database. So model is a place where you can define your data model. It's a kind of in a data warehouse. If you're from data warehouse field, you should know what is data modeling and data structuring and data engineering. So we're going to use model. You can think of models like where we can create a place to hold the data, right? So if you're not familiar with the models, we have a Unleashed model series where we have covered models only in with a detailed level. Okay, let's. So I'm gonna create a class. Basically, class is a kind of creating a like objects to hold the objects, each individual objects. That's the reason we prefer to go with a class. So I'm going to name it as room model dot model, which is inherent from model class. So I'm going to name it as room number. Room number is models integer field, and guest models. So basically, we can think guest as a customer, but when the guest coming for a registration, we supposed to have the guest name earlier before allocating the room, right? So if you go to any any hotels, right? So you have to provide your um, details before they allocating a room. In the detail sense, you provide your driving license, passports, depends upon what identity you have. Basically, the hotel manager has to go through, hey, what is guest name, how many guests, or those kind of stuff, right? So basically, he he's supposed to have the hotel manager is supposed to have the guest details first before he allocate room. So let's just assume we have guest details in a separate table in a like called users table. Um, so let's think about as a foreign key. So we have a guest as a user table. We're gonna use that user table just like import using foreign key, right? So in order to bring the user table, so what we can do is we can use the out of the box in Django user models into user. Now I can just type user on late equal to model cascade. So basically, if we delete the user, then obviously we have to remove that users from a room. So in other words, if we if the guest is not there, then obviously it means we have to uh, uh, it's kind of empty room, right? So let's think in a real-time situation. So if the guest is not there, then room is available for other users or other guests. Kind of, so we have to delete that from the room as well. Cool. And then checking. So basically, if you are going to book the room, so you have to provide your check-in date. So I'm going to keep this model as very neat and simple. Otherwise, it's going to be a very hard to uh, implement all the logic in a single stretch and apply the backend. Is going to be much tough. So idea behind of this video is just want to show you guys to how to build the how we can integrate the systems. Okay, so that's what we want to keep the model very simple. So models, so checking date should be date field, and checkout should be models dot field. Okay, now we can have our vendor str method to return the room number. So as we are using the class in order to access the variable, we can use the self instance class to method to access the variable. Okay, so cool. So we created the model. What else? So now we need to add this um, model in our settings, right? So it should be here under hotel management project. So scroll down, you can add your names. What is the app name called? Hotel, right? Hotel. Or you can add here as well. I usually prefer to have as a all the app or the installed app here and third-party app under the regular Django files. But let's keep here. Yeah, keep it here. Simple. Okay, so what else next? As we created the app, then what we have to create is we have to create we have to migrate the code. So basically make migration because we created the new models. Before we want to save this file, make migration. So it's created the model room. If you go to that hotel app migration folder, you should see these make migration field. This is pretty cool, right? Okay, so this is just an skeleton, or it is saying, hey, ready to migrate their data to the database. So in our case, we just have a DB SQLite. We don't have any actual production ready database like a Postgres, MySQL, or MongoDB. For just keep it simple, we can have a DB SQLite. Then in order to move the data, we have to run the migrate. So it's apply the couple of other data related stuff as well. Okay, what would be the next? Okay, so let's just try to create some room in admin data model, and we'll see what is there in the data. So in order to create the admin data model, I need to create a super user first. So I'm going to create a super user. Create super user. I'm going to name it as admin, empty. Password, let's say Tkinter. It's not recommended to have, let's say Tkinter at 123. And I think wrong password every time, not sure. Oh, Tkinter at 123. Hey, come on. Tkinter at 123. Oh my god, I slow Tkinter at 123. Cool. So the password is I created with the admin. This will this password is this username and password is very important when we create backend stuff or front-end stuff. So let's run the server. So using Python manage py run server, we can run the default Django development server, which will by default it will have 8000 port. Cool, right? So this is the landing page for an. Now we already created our admin super user, so we can try to access. Okay, so as we created the model, we have to add in our admin py file to access the model in the admin page. So we have to go to here, and under the hotel app, you should see admin.py file. Here, just do the relative import room and admin site dot register the room. Here this file, reloading. Okay, refresh. I should see here. Okay, if I try to create a room, let's say room number 1, we give this admin. Oh, why I don't have a checkout date? Oh, come on. I haven't provided the parentheses. Okay. And one more thing that should be okay. As we change these field stuff here, as we need to do the migration. So make migration. Okay. Okay, so it's required for an some kind of default data, though we don't have any data in the model itself, but as we already created this migration, it was trying to it was assuming, hey, this is a non-blank field, right? The one thing we can do is probably we can delete this file and we can do that. But instead, let's keep this as simple. We can have it as blank equal to true, null equal to true. This is not the case when we do the actual development, but for testing purpose, we just keep blank equal to true. See if I do the migration now, it should accept. Yeah. Now migrate. Now run server. Okay, if I refresh now, I should see checkout date. So room number, admin, say today date, maybe tomorrow date, and save. Then you are okay. I know the reason, because this room number is an integer field, but this is a string field we are trying to access. So change this string and save this file, refresh. Now we can see the data. So very cool. Okay, so now we have some data. Let's create one more room, the room number 2, same user, maybe checkout date is 29. Cool. So now we have a 2 room assigned to 2 same guests. Maybe number of guests would be more. Okay, now it's time to we have now time to think about how we can design our backend to expose the data to the front-end world, right? So either we can go by regular Django method to, when I say regular Django method, we can create the views here, URL file, and create a class-based view or a function-based view to return the JSON data back with all this validation stuff. It's kind of quite complex approach if you go with the regular Django method, because using the Django, we can able to achieve the all this stuff, but problem is it is quite complex. When I say within Django means, if think about having the returning the JSON data, and if it is authenticated or permission classes and sending these JSON serialized data, those concepts would be it would be more complex when we go with the regular Django approach. That's where the Django REST framework come into the picture. So it makes the thing easier for the front end to consume the data from the backend. Right? So that is the main reason people usually goes for a REST framework. So REST, you can think REST framework is an intermediate layer of the Django and front end. So Django is a backend model, and Django REST framework is the intermediate layer to read the data and massage the data and expose it in such a way that the front end can understand very easily, as well as the permission authentication permission part will be handled very easily, rather than building everything in Django itself. Of course, the Django REST framework is built on top of Django, but it is always quite to use the um, existing reusable one. So that is our some sort of rule, right? Do not repeat yourself. Okay, so now it's time to um, install the Django REST framework. So what I'm going to do is we can go with the Django REST framework documentation here and just copy this installation part, Django installation. So it will take a couple of seconds or minutes. Let's see, depends upon the internet bandwidth. Seems like my internet bandwidth is very slow today, guys. Sorry about that. As we are all in work from home, so network usage is very getting down always. Should not be take this much time. Okay, so meanwhile, let me build the skeleton. Okay, so some developers usually build the REST framework APIs within the app itself. I mean, regular views URL itself. But I want to separate my REST framework development into separate folder. Cool. So REST now it's completed. Okay, it's installed. So once it's installed, you can copy that and you can go back to the setting file and just add just like this. Cool. Now what we can do is let's go back to that the hotel management URL file just to make sure. I think before validate the REST framework, let's build the regular, I mean the API front end part. Okay, so what I was saying is usually I used to build or separate the API part within the app, but with a different folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a separate folder called API. Under the API, I'm going to create a new news.py and url.py and what else? I want to create a serializers.py. Cool. So this is the place where we're gonna build all our REST framework design. Of course, you can have the serializer within this app here itself, next to the model space file. Of course, you can move all these three files to separate, but just keep this separate thing will be clean and neat as far as my perspective. Okay, so now um, think about a serializer is some kind of reading the data from your model, from the Django model, and returning in a serialized JSON format. So it is like our object is when we call the model table, right? So we can create by instance and access the object by instance, and then call using that instance, returning the data to the in some kind of format, right? Usually, if in view, it's an HTTP response format, rendering format, but the front end part may need in a different way, right? So there is one of the approach called serializing. So serializing nothing but it's sending the data in a JSON format. So like this, so ID is 1, room number is 2, room number, right? Room number and guest. Let's say 1. So this kind of JSON format, right? Usually that is how the serializer forming the data and send to the front end, send to the API endpoint. Okay, maybe it's quite a little confused initially, but once we start seeing the data, you'll get better understanding what I'm talking about here. Okay, first things first, we have to import REST framework dot serializers and import model serializer. Cool. Now I just want to build the list, the retrieve part. So basically, in any operation, any project, we should end up with this kind of approach, right? So thread operation. So create, retrieve, update, and delete. So this is what we're going to do. So basically, any application should have an option to create it, and should have an option to list that, and should have an option to update and delete. So this is also all about called thread operation, and so think about these 4 kind of operation have a separate endpoint. So each operation going to be a separate endpoint to access the front end part. So when I say endpoint, it's an API, REST API URL. Endpoint is nothing but URL. The endpoint is nothing but an URL. Just like this, addressing here, slash, something like that. So we're going to build a new URL point to achieve all this operation. So let's start with retrieve. That's going to be a more easiest one, I believe. So let's start with class room. I'm going to name it as class room. So you see this is a camel case notation. List serializer, and this class serializer is going to be an import from model serializer. And what else? So we name it as we created the class, but what data we're gonna retrieve, right? That is question. So we're gonna retrieve the models from the room, right? So basically we need a room model to convert the room model as a serialized format. So in order to do that, I need to import from, so it's coming from hotel app dot models, this file, and import room. Cool. Now we can create the meta. So model. So this is a simple way we can access the model in within the serializer. Now we need to, if you don't provide the fields, by default you provide all the fields, but I just want to explicitly want to mention the fields as well. So I want to have the ID. We'll see why I'm exposing ID in the list serializer. This will really help us when we design the front end part. So let's stick with importing the ID as well, and then room number. So basically this field should be the same name here. So if you provided check-in date, then you have to make it a check-in date. If you keep it as room, then you have to change this to room. So basically this should be equal to this. So room number and guest and check-in and checkout. Cool. So we created our serializer. Let's think about viewing the data. So the moment when we say viewing the data or retrieving the data, so the logic we have to build in our views.py file. So let's jump onto that API views.py file, and here I'm going to import couple of REST framework stuff. So I'm gonna import a list API view. So this is the class-based view. If you want to go with a function-based view, of course you can, but class-based view has many own features. So I just want to stick with class-based view. So we can import from generics, from just like this. And what else? We have to create a class room list API view, and we'll inherit from list API view. So if we inherit that model, then we can use that inherited parent class methods, objects, or variables, everything. So one of the variable called method called query set. So basically I want to get all the room model objects and I want to return the data in a serialized class, serialized data. So in order to, first of all, I used room model, right? So in order to access this room, what else we need to import, right? So hotel dot model import room. So this will query set, it will return the regular query set data, but we want to have a JSON kind of data, serialized data. So in order to use that, we need to go with serializer class equals to the serializer which we created just before. So it should be from dot serializer import to room list serializer. Wow, super simple, right? So now we build our first view logic and serializer to list the data. In order to access this, we have to think about the same regular Django URL pattern. So as we already created the URL file under the API folder, we just need to import a couple of import path. Also, we need to the views from user file and the URL patterns equal to path. I just want to keep this a list view, right? So it should not be, I don't want any name. And as it is a class-based view, we should use this as view method, and I can name it as to call list. Okay, I think we pretty much build our first serializer, which will have the list of all the available booked rooms so far. So in order to access this URL, right, we have to register this URL in our project URL file, right? That is the issue thing. So in order to register it, we can name it as path. As it's going to be a separate API path, I'm going to name it as API / and this will include. So if I want to use include, then I have to import the include from here. Let me get from this include include our hotel app dot API folder, this path, and this URL file. So URLs. So when we call this API in the front end, this will go here and look for this URL file here and is looking for the given pattern. Okay, so let's try to migrate because we added the app. Let's see if there anything else it is creating. No module name Django REST framework. Why I think it is wrong. Should be REST framework, right? Oh, sorry, it should not be the Django REST framework. It should be REST framework. I copied just like that. Okay, so migrate. Okay, now let's run server. No issue, that's good sign. Now in order to access this URL, like this, so API, right? So localhost / API. Wow, cool, right? So we created our first room list API, which will have only the get method and return all the serialized data. That's pretty nice, I believe. Okay, so as you see here, just a get method because list API here, this allows only get method. So that's why we are seeing only get, not seeing post or put or whatever the other method. And if you see the content type is application JSON, and which is pretty much is labeled for any other any front-end applications requires. And as you see, the guest is user instead of username. We're just passing the user ID. Just stick with this user ID for a moment, and maybe we can think about changing this later. Okay, now it's time to go with the create serializer. Create serializer basically it's create a room, right? So allocate the room to the users. So our guest. So just create room, create. So I think for create, update, we can just assume we're going to create the room objects, right? And also sometimes we may need to use the same model for update, right? So the update portion also may need to have I'm just thinking what kind of can we use things serializer. It's okay, let's stick with create serializer. So create serializer. Okay, sorry, not from view. I just built in view here. So class room create serializer, and this from model serializer, just like list serializer. Of course, you can copy the same thing. Cool. As we created the serializer room, new serializer, we can import this new serializer here. And just using the parentheses to import new thing. And I'm going to create the room create API view. So basically this is for creating the room object, right? So we can import inbuilt method called create API view. So basically this class which allows only post method. So as like list API which is always by default the get method. Just like that for create API view should be should be same for post method. So just like that, you can copy this and serializer class equal to room create serializer. That's what we have separate. I mean, of course, we can try with the same serializer, but it is better to create a separate serializer for each individual operation, so that in future, if we want to separate, if you want to add a new logic in a separate serializer, it is easy for us to handle it rather than changing from scratch. So this create API, just like think about creating the object, a room object, and it just allows only the post method. So that's why we created the separate serializer to handle it. Okay, as we created a new view, we can import here, import API view, and call it as room create API view, and path should be, we can create whatever the path, but I'm going with the create and room create API view. So you can copy that, call as view method. So basically it's a class-based view. I'm going to name it as create. Okay. Saved perfectly. Just list down the API. Cool. I should see this option. If I go to create, because that is what our endpoint. Wow. If you see, this method allows get option also. Okay, let's try. Room number is 3 now. Guest is admin, and it's a check-in date and checkout date. If I post, wow, see? So in order to see the respective data, it has allowing have the get method as well as the post method. This is what we are seeing here. So if I go back to my list API view, I should see the third row. Super cool, right? So as part of the CRUD operation perspective, we build our these two. Now we can work on the update and delete. So pretty much all these operations pretty much repeatedly same with a different few changes, but this, as like usual, we go with creating separate utilizer for each individual operation. I'm going to copy this and name it as room update, because I'm going to go with updating the method. And now as we change this, as we created the new serializer for updating purpose, so we need to import that in our model, and we can name it as room update API view, which is inherit from update. So update API view is basically, it allows get and put method. So like this here, CRUD operation is get and post, and this always only get, this get and put is nothing but basically it's an update, and delete is delete. So these are the HTTP method which browser knows whether this is a get operation or post or put, an update or delete or get operation. So as it's already available in the Django REST framework, we can inherit that from generic view, generic class, just like this, and import here, and we can copy the same thing. I think one thing I want to mention here, as we go with the update serializer is basically based on the given primary key. When I say primary key or ID column, so if you go back to admin, if I click on any room, if you see, let me comment this for a moment. Okay, this one server back. I just want to rename this separate purpose. Let me refresh this. As you see, by default creating the primary key, that is also called ID column. So think about that is called a detailed view, right? Updating the data also is kind of a detail level object. So once we go to the detail level object, then we can update the data, right? So we can think of having a serializer for both the detail view as well as the update view, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to name this room update serializer to detail serializer so that I can use this both same serializer for both detailed view as well as the update view. I hope you guys understand why I'm renamed this from room update to serializer, because it's going to be a same serializer for both update data as well as the viewing the particular data. We'll see in a moment. Maybe instead of going go and update the data now, maybe we can start using the detail view. So I can import the room detail serializer, and there is view called retrieve API view. So retrieve API view is nothing but, if you know class-based view in Django, so you inherit from detail class, right? So that is pretty much the detail level of objects in Django. Likewise, in Django REST framework, in order to retrieve the object level data, then we have to use retrieve API view, and I can inherit, or if I have to use this one, so room detail API view. You can name whatever name you want, but I want to stick with this. This is a naming convention I used to follow. So here I am going to import retrieve API, and of course need a query set, and the serializer also. Yes, serializer class. I need a room detail serializer. Okay, let's try this, what the data looks like. So before looking into API, we need to create our URL pattern. So I just imported the room detail API view from here, and my detail view should be something like so it's a ID column, right? So I'm going to stick with the integer. Let's say the integer, some kind of number, and room detail API view dot as view as a method to call, and a name equal to detail, as it is a detail view. So save this file. Now let's take a look how the detail view looks like. Let's make sure list API is working fine. It's working fine. So I want to go to this object, this guest room. So basically API /1. Expected a detail view to be called with URL pk lookup field. So by default, retrieve API view looking for a primary key column. So that's why it's sending this assertion error. So we can change this to as we are passing the integer of nums as a slug variable, it's not able to not able to recognize the what data actually it is, right? So in order to understand the retrieve API view, hey, this pattern is only for primary key, then you have to explicitly mention that column here, just like this. So if you change this to PK, then what will happen is when we hit this URL 1, this convert here as a PK. This PK is recognize the column into, let's say, maybe in the retrieve API view, it should have a keyboard arguments. It will look for this PK column, something like that. So save this file. Come on. If I refresh now, well, what we're seeing is a detailed view. That's pretty cool, right? But sometimes you don't want to go with a PK field. Instead, just assume if you want to go with a ID field, right? Then you can also, I think, believe there's a column option called ID. Then you can change this to ID. If I refresh, it just works like a pro. Perfect. So then I'm going to stick with the PK. Can't get it up. It's not required. So this is the detail option. So if I go back to my list API, I could be able to list all the stuff. And if I want to go to the second option, why did I hear this? Yeah, I should see the data. Okay, now it's time to move on to our update view. So let me uncomment this room update API view. It's pretty much the same thing. But one option here is, instead of separate serializer, we can use the detailed serializer just like this. Because updating view is nothing but same like updating viewing the respective objects, right? So viewing the objects on top of, when I say viewing the object in detail view, we are viewing the object, right? And below this form, below this here, we can have an option to update this object. That's called update API view here. So just save this, copy this, and import into our URL. And I'm just copying just like this. As I'm looking for an edit, so PK edit, let's say, in the sense it's for an update. So edit, so if I go to edit, why I'm not seeing the data? That's because I used detail API. I should use room update API here. Save this. Now refresh the page. Wow, I can see this room now. So let's say the room number 2, and change this to some different date, June 1. Initially, if you remember, we kept it at today's date. See, I should only have an option to update put request. It changed to June 1 and June 2. If I go back to the API view, the second object is changed to June 1 and June 2. Cool. And this is all about having the list API view Now think about having the delete view. Delete view also is pretty much like an deleting the individual object, right? So uh, we can have a same serializer, detailed serializer, because we are not going to delete the entire list. Rather, we're going to delete only the given object. So we can use the detailed serializer just like this, and delete API view. So instead of update, so before that, let me make it as this is these three is done. And we're now working on this delete portion here. So I think there should be destroy API view. So destroy is nothing but the delete API view, and can head to that room delete API view and copy this room delete API view to the URL file, and just copy this path. So basically, particular object, go and delete it. I'm going to change the delete and delete. Save this option. Cool. If I go to the same object 2, let me list down the object first. 2. If I go to detailed view, I should see this. I should see if I go to delete, because that's our URL. Now I should see delete button. If I delete this, delete, wow, 204, which is mean it's completed, successfully deleted. If I go back to my list API view, no longer 2 room, right? Awesome. Finally, we created the all CRUD operation using the Django REST framework. Cool. Now we have to think about how we're gonna handle this in front end part. I think this video is quite taking a very long time. Maybe we'll see that in next video. See you guys.